This is not okay. Chandra, I'm concerned about your safety. Ah. Oh my goodness. It's quite alright. You're right there, Chandra. Well done. Right, so now that we've officially managed to keep both eyes in our skulls, back to Kevin's question. The best imitator of all of us is Brian, the cameraman. He can do some really incredible imitations. He's really, truly fantastic at it. I don't quite claim to have the same level of skill that he has. He's truly marvelous, and he's had hornbills, ground hornbills respond. He's had the black-bellied bustard respond. I can also do a monkey alarm call impression, but that sort of only works about 50% of the time. The other part of the time I sound a little bit like Donald Duck, as does Chandra. Chandra and I fall into the same boat there. The rest of the animals, Brent does a good lion roar, I don't. Brent does a good buffalo distress call, again, I don't. And I'm convinced that these lions are somewhere here. Where are you? So this is where we last saw them. You're going off-road here. Got cisticolas calling in the distance. Oof, it's such a tricky spot. They're probably in this river system. Somewhere here. I wonder if they haven't gone to go lie down in the shade. Of course, Maggie in Australia talking about tracking, and I do just want to go for a little bit of a stroll around here, just very carefully poke my nose up over some of the drainage line systems. But before I do, in answer to Maggie's question is about tracking versus backtracking, and she wants to know what the distinction is. Tracking is tracking is looking at tracks. Trailing is following them. So there's a subtle, but we always use tracking in terms of finding the animals. So tracking them is following where the animal went. Backtracking is finding where they came from. It's tracking in reverse. So going backwards along where they came from. And that's useful in terms of narrowing down where den sites might be. If you've got lioness coming out of a patch regularly, if you backtrack her to where that is, you get a rough idea as to where she might be hiding cubs. Vice versa for leopards and hyenas. And you don't really backtrack things like elephants or anything else, but backtracking can be useful just to build up a picture, because that's what tracking's about. It's about finding the animals, but it's also about building a picture in your mind as to what has happened while you've been away from the bush or while you've been away from an area. So that's the distinction between tracking and backtracking. Speaking of tracking, I know that Brent has been wandering around on foot. Let us find out how his tracking or backtracking seems to have worked out for him.
Well, it hasn't worked out well. Now, the ground's really hard, but I still didn't find anything going north. So, and I walked down a riverbed where I shouldn't miss tracks. So, when you rule out one direction, the remaining direction has to be true. But I'm just trying to double check here now that there's a bit better light. Oh, to see if she crossed, I'm causing a traffic jam. I'm going to check Leadwood Road next to see what Elvis says. Wonderful. Karula Vaizan. We had Karula's Mampimpans here in the Shkova yesterday. But I can't find Nkonzo going south, I can't find Nkonzo going north, I can't find Nkonzo going west. So I'm hoping in this block here somewhere. So I'm going to check Leadwood. Just okay. Let me just. So I haven't been on the Game Drive radio for a while, so I'm going to get an update quickly. I've been off the vehicle for about 10-15. I don't have any updates, please. I'm just going to really slowly again. copy tax. I checked on foot to the north. I checked that Shkova that runs between Leadwood and Mamba Road. I couldn't find any Nkonzo on the Shkova. I'm now checking Leadwood again to see if maybe she's in this block between Gowrie Main and Leadwood. Sometimes they like to lie out in the open for us. Other times, we've got to work quite hard. Now, not only are we looking for tracks, we're looking in the trees. Fingers crossed that she's made a kill. But while we're out tracking, there's always interesting things to look at. So I'm always keeping my eye out for anything. There we go. Oh dear. Now, as I said, you're looking for the faintest little shape at the moment, and I haven't been down this road yet, but I know it's going to be quite hard to believe. But what I'm about to show you, oh, I'm stuck on things. What I'm about to show you is, in fact, a leopard track, and unfortunately it is going in the wrong direction. Now you see how hard the ground is here. So this looks like a cub, and it looks like it was playing or running after mom. You can just see the make out of the toes, and then the back pad is there. So that's a bit bigger than that, but it's so difficult to see. So I'm going to double check, see if there's a clearer track of maybe mom. Unfortunately, another vehicle has driven down here already this morning, but the tracks are heading out of our traverse area. So let's go look for something else. Hopefully she'll be back soon. We'll keep checking along this road. You never know, she might have, the little ones might have just been running around, causing havoc and playing. Oh, let me just get my seat sorted. Oh, here's my microphone. There we go. Hi Brian. Brian's wondering how far do we get from base on our daily patrols. Well Brian, it just depends on the day. If we go down to the sort of southeastern corner of Cheetah Plains, we're probably 20 odd kilometers sometimes from base, but that's on the roads. Driving probably about 12 or 13 kilometers. On average, I'd say we probably do 5 to 6 Ks, maybe a bit, no, maybe more, as much as 10 Ks in a morning, or an evening, but it all just depends on the day. Sometimes we barely ever move, and we've got a lion and leopard sighting, probably do 1.5 Ks to them, and then we just sit tight. Nkonzo of Karula and Mampimpan cross southeast into the block between Leadwood and Gowrie Main. I'm going to do a loop Leadwood Gowrie Main again. So you can actually see my footprints on the road. Let's do it that way. So I walked a big loop, probably about 1 kilometer around to check for tracks. And there's a little tributary of the Mawati that flows parallel to us here, and I was checking there because the sand's soft in the bottom and it makes tracks a little bit easier to see, but unfortunately they didn't go that way. So they could be in this area here, but if she is heading south, it's quite possible that she is heading south towards our edge of traverse. I'm always the eternal optimist. I'm hoping we just spot her lounging in a tree with a tree climbing impala. Now, of course, impala can't climb trees by themselves. They need some help from their leopards, from our leopards around here. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous morning, and notice there's a lack of impala and kudu and nyala in this area, so it could mean that those leopards are still around. Hi, Brian. Brian's asking, is shadow that is seen on Safari Live in the Sabi Sands Game Reserve the same shadow that's seen on the program Big Cat Diary? It is not. I'm not sure if shadow's a leopard or a cheetah on Big Cat Diary. I haven't watched much of it. But Big Cat Diary is in the Masai Mara in Kenya. So probably around 2,700 odd kilometers from us. If it's shadow is a cat, they probably have a common ancestor a couple of million years ago. So maybe they're long lost cousins. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one last roll of the dice, come round onto our southern boundary and then check it again very carefully and keep checking up in the trees and hope, as I said, to find a tree climbing antelope. Well, the one thing I did do on my little walk is I warmed up and lost a few layers. Might be slightly regretting removing a few layers that early, because now back on the vehicle and on the move, a bit chilly. But while we keep scouring for any sign of Queen Karula and her little prince and princess, let's go see how Jamie's lion endeavours are going.
Hello and welcome to all the boys watching at St. Benedict in Mrs. Emmett's class. It is wonderful to have you on board. Now, I do hear that lots of you have not been on a game drive before in your lives, so I want you to put on your imagination. Imagine that you are sitting on the back of the vehicle with me on a safari seat, and grab your hat, or actually grab your gloves and your beanie, because it's very chilly out here in the African bush this morning. And let me explain something about how this works. First of all, my name is Jamie, and I have a man called Jandre who sits behind me. So instead of having guests, I have a man with a camera, and he points it where we need to go, where we need to look. And what that happens then is some magic happens with technology that I don't really understand, and it shoots up into the sky and then it shoots down into your classroom. That's pretty much my understanding. There's the internet involved somehow. They don't employ me to do their technology. However, what that means is that what you're seeing on your screen right now, when I'm doing silly things with my hands, is happening in real life here in the middle of the game reserve called Djuma and Arathusa and Cheetah Plains. And we're right next to, and I think even if you haven't been on a game drive, you've all heard of the famous Kruger National Park. Well, we are right next door, and the animals come in from the Kruger National Park to us, or from us to the Kruger National Park, because there's no fences there. So it means all of the animals are wild. It also means you can ask me questions about what it is you're seeing. Now, this morning, before we go anywhere, this morning we are looking for lions because we saw them this morning, but they disappeared somewhere where I couldn't follow them. The first thing I want to show you, because you're going to have to help me look for signs of these creatures, first thing I'm going to show you is what a lion track looks like. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, it has just rained here in the Sabi Sand, so the tracks are really, really hard to spot. What that means is I'm going to draw one for you. I'm going to take out my earpiece. This is how I get questions through from you. I wear this in my ear, and then I hear your questions. I'm going to jump out, and I'm going to try and draw what a lion track looks like. But I'm not a very good artist, so it might go very wrong. So you're not allowed to laugh at me. Please don't laugh at me. I'm very sensitive. Okay, so if we look here in the sand, I'm going to draw you, make a nice clean drawing board. It's nice to draw in the sand. A lion track has a heel that looks like this. So this is the lion's footprint. It's a lion's track. See, that's the back of his foot here. And he's got 3 things at the back, 3 lobes, kind of like our heel print, but there's 3 of them. And then toes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, there's a fly sitting on my nose, and now he's in my eye, but that's okay. Get rid of him in a moment. We get used to flies out here. So that is roughly what, okay, it's not the best lion track in the world, but that's what a lion track looks like, and it's about this size. So if I put my hand next to the lion track, this would be the size of a big male lion. A big male lion's track is about the size of my hand. Now this lion track would be going that way. So they point you in the right direction. Now we're really lucky. We've actually got a man called Herbert who is helping us out. He's on foot, can you believe it, looking for the lions. And he keeps telling me where to go. He says he is just to the north of us over here. So let's go and find Herbert and hopefully find some lions at the same time. I didn't need to find Herbert. There's Herbert. He's got a stick to help him look for the lions. Alrighty, let's go and help him, shall we? Now that I've got my earpiece in, I'll be able to hear your questions. Now, Zachary, we see lions and leopards pretty much on a... flies in my nose. We see lions and leopards pretty much on a daily basis. But you wanted to know what is the most unseen or the least often seen animal on our reserve. Zachary, that answer would have to be an animal called a pangolin. Now, pangolins are really, really rare animals. They look like a walking pine cone, kind of. So they've got scales covering their body. It's a little animal. It's about this big. And it eats ants. And it's sort of kind of like an aardvark, but not really. It's got these wonderful scales along its back. And I think perhaps Brent might have a picture at some point, so maybe he can show you what a picture of a pangolin looks like, depending on what else we find out here. Unfortunately, I don't have my box of books, because it was raining yesterday and I forgot to put them back in the car. So, a pangolin is probably the animal we see least. I see Herbert walking straight towards the road that's just here. And Jean-Andre, we drove this road earlier. So it means the lions, we've just been missing the lions each and every time. Let's go and see. But you have to help me look, remember? So I taught you what a lion track looks like. You have to help me look for the evidence, and you have to help me look for the lions, because you've got lots of sets of eyes. I've only got 2 eyes. Jean-Andre's only got 2 eyes, but with all of us looking together, we've got lots of eyes. Hello, Herbert. So Herbert's just jogging to give us a little bit of an update. Let's hear what he has to say. He's helping us look, and he's a master tracker. He's really, really good at finding the animals. Herbert, you want to wave hello to all the kids?
Hello. Good morning, good morning.
Going check Impala.
Yeah, quite fresh tracks.
Okay, awesome. Because I was just on Impala half an hour ago.
Yeah, they're on top of these. Did you drive past here?
Yes.
Yeah, they're on top of him over Gonzo.
Yeah.
Just check in here. I've been changing that move and I'm going back.
Okay. All right, we go.
Yeah, I'll quickly take my move.
Perfect. Okay. We'll see you there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Herbert. Herbert's a legend. Now, speaking of lions, we have a question about why it is that male lions fight over females. And the answer to that is that Cristiano, they fight over females actually once they've established themselves in an area. Male lions are actually quite good at putting up with their brother, maybe having access to the females. But every animal out here has one particular aim in mind, or two. One is to survive, the other is to pass on their genetic material. In other words, to produce offspring. And that is why male lions, these are actually really beautiful tracks. This is not a lion track. This is a different type of track, and I want to see if you can guess what track this is. Let's see how on the ball you guys are today. Here's a beautiful track in the sand. This is a real one, not my drawing. And in order to help you guess, I'm going to jump out and show you what we're looking for, what clues we're looking for. I can tell you now that it is not a lion. It is something different. It's an animal that's got relatively big feet. Are these okay, Andre? Perfect, thank you. Instead of having those 3 bits at the back of its foot, it's got 2. And these are its toes here. And these spots, you see these deep spots here? These are claws. So these are claw marks. And an animal walked along this road going this way. This is its back foot here. So here's the back toes and the claws here. And the claws here. So what animal, and maybe I'll give you some clues because it's a bit of a difficult one. What animal has big feet, almost as big as a lioness, with claws that stick out of it, that walks on its own, often, not always, but often walks on its own, and it's a famous animal. Let's see if you can guess what animal that might be. It is not a cat. That much I'll tell you. It's not one of the big cats because big cats have 3 lobes at the back. This animal only has 2. I wonder if any of you are wide awake this morning in class. I know that Joburg's very cold at the moment, but hopefully the cold hasn't frozen your brains and you can work out what animal walked along this road. But it's not an animal we're looking for because we're looking for these lions. So Cristiano, lions fight for access to females because they want to be the ones that make babies. They want to be the ones that produce cubs. And that is what their life is geared towards, surviving and mating with a female so that they can father the next generation of lions. And Wade, yes, you've got a little bit of background knowledge on lions. It is absolutely true that male lions can sleep 20 hours a day. That seems like a really lazy thing, but when they are active, then they're very, very active. Very, very good at moving about through the bush. So male lions got this reputation of being lazy and kind of a bit useless at hunting. But the truth is they can hunt. They can hunt very well for themselves. And they've got to be lazy because they get too hot. They're so big and they've got that big thick mane which acts kind of like my beanie and a scarf does, which when it's 40 degrees during the day makes the lions really, really warm. The tracks are going to pop out just here. I know the path that these lions use because I know these lions. So that's why the lions spend so much time sleeping. And Aiden, you want to know why the lions hide away from people. The truth is, Aiden, out here, they actually don't really hide away from us. They're so used to, ever since they were little babies, and this group does have little babies with them. Ever since they were young, they've had people driving around in vehicles, so they've learnt that we are not a threat to them. But usually, if you are on foot during the day, only during the day though, it's important to remember that a lion at night knows that they have an advantage. But during the day, a lion is actually an animal that's a little bit scared of people, because for thousands of years, people have hunted them. Now, they don't hunt them here, which is really good. We protect them here. We look after our animals here. But for thousands of years, these animals have learnt that human beings will try and hunt them or chase them away from their cattle or whatever it might be. So that's why lions, they know that we are clever and they know that we can build weapons. So they've learnt that we are scary, but only when we're on foot, not when we are driving in a vehicle, because they've only ever had people driving in a vehicle makes them actually feel fine. They feel safe around us. But at night, a lion knows that we can't see in the dark as well as they can. That's why it's really important to never ever go walking in the bush at night, and to never sleep out in the open. It's okay to sleep out in a tent, but you must never sleep out in the open at night in the bush unless there's somebody watching all the time to make sure that animals are not coming to investigate. Because these are wild animals and we live in their home. Now, this group, I've said, has got little cubs with them. And Ike, you wanted to know whether or not the cubs, could jump over their parents' back. No, the little cubs at the age they are now, they're only this big. So at the moment, they're not yet able to jump over their parents' back. They can't jump that high just yet. In fact, these little lion cubs that we have here are so tiny that they're even falling over themselves when they run around. Okay, so we've got something interesting here. Now, we've got some animals called impalas, and they're very beautiful antelope, but there's lots and lots of them. And what that means is that they're very important here, because they're a food source for predators. Now, usually impala are really alert. If they think they see lions coming, then they start to make a noise that goes ba 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 ba, and that's their alarm call. So they would let us know if the lions had come through here, and it doesn't seem like they have. So that means that between where Herbert had their tracks and where these impala are now, there are lions hiding somewhere in the shade. Now look at these. While you look at these impala, you can see some of them have horns and some of them don't. So it's the females that have horns. The females don't have horns, and the males do have horns. And that's because the males need, kind of like the male lion that we answered to Christoph's question, it's the same thing with male impala. They need those horns in order to fight each other, so that they can fight over females, so that they can win the best female and mate with her to make babies. And you'll see, if you look closely, this is still a young male, but if you look closely, every now and again you might see a bird sitting on the impala. I saw one on him, but I think it might have flown away. But there's birds fluttering all about around on these impala themselves. There, he moved it away and it's gone on to, look carefully, look behind the impala with the horns. Oh, there, where that female shook her head. There we go, on to the male impala again. See how it's combing through his fur like that? That is a bird called an oxpecker. Okay, so this is a red-billed oxpecker. Now, can anybody guess, what do you think he's doing? You think he's cleaning through the impala's fur? Hey, so some of you may be thinking he's looking for food. He's cleaning the impala, and that's because ticks sit on the impala. And the oxpecker will eat the ticks. So it's a really nice relationship See how it helps the impala, because then it takes away the parasites that sit on the impala, make him itchy and drink his blood. And it also means that the bird gets food. So it doesn't have to go flying around searching for any food. It can just sit on the impala and comb into its fur and pick up the ticks that are there. See how clever that is? So the bird helps the impala, and the impala helps the bird, and that is called symbiosis, and it's a mutually beneficial relationship because both of the animals get something out of that relationship that they're in. Okay, we're going to go searching for the lions. Let's see what else we can find. And Geordie, that will be an answer to your question. These impala are one of the lion's favorite meals, but it depends how many lions you've got. So if you've got lots of lions, then an impala that only weighs about 40 kilograms isn't really going to be enough food for them. So then that's when lions really like to hunt buffalo. And when there's lots of lions, they hunt buffalo, especially if they've got a male lion with them, because a male lion is much stronger and heavier than the female. So they can help with hunting buffalo. Probably a lion's favorite food is buffalo. And very well done. It seems as though some of you have got your thinking caps on. You are absolutely right. For those of you who said that track that I asked you about earlier, the footprint in the sand, those of you who said hyena, you were absolutely right. Okay, and the biggest giveaway is the claws in the sand, because lions and leopards, their claws live inside their paws. So live up in a sheath above their paws and only come out when, kind of like a cat. I don't know if any of you have pet cats at home, but like a cat, they keep their claws hidden away. Lions and leopards are like that. So well done to those of you who figured out that it was a hyena. Bravo. Right, I'm going to go look for lions for you in the meantime. Let's go across, because it's not just me out here, and I think Brent would really like to say good morning to you.
Well, good morning to Mrs. Emmett's class at St. Benedict's. I hope you guys are having a fantastic morning so far, and welcome to the middle of the bush. And we're on Djuma Private Game Reserve, next to the Kruger National Park. So there's no fence between us and Kruger. And I know Jamie's on the hunt for those lions, and we're on the hunt for some elephants. I think we're going to see if we can find some elephants. But remember, guys, ask as many questions as you would like about the bush, and we'll try to answer them to the best of our ability. My name is Brent, and I have a dangerous Dave, who's my cameraman today. Of course, he's not really dangerous, it's just his nickname. Oh, there we go. Our first little animal. Oh, to the right. Yeah, little birdie. Middle of the screen. A little bit to the right. Oh no, you got him. There's a little fork-tailed drongo. Enjoying the morning sun. It's been a cold morning here. He's part of, off he goes. He's part of the flycatcher family. So he perches. Oh, off he goes back to his perch. Oh, there's a fight going on. Oh, there we go. A drongo war. Now, they'll fight over good spots to hunt or over girlfriends. That little particular interaction looked like it was over good spots to hunt from. But it disappeared. There he is in the back of the bush there, but we're not going to stay with them too long. So they like to catch all sorts of bugs for their breakfast. Now, Nicholas is wondering, how was the big five chosen? So the big five is, of course, rhino, lion, elephant, buffalo, and leopard. Now, a long time ago, when we didn't do photographic safaris, which is what we're doing now, there was big game hunting safaris. And the big five is chosen from the 5 most dangerous animals to hunt on foot. So when we're in the car, they're not nearly as dangerous, but that's where the big 5 comes from. The 5 most dangerous animals to hunt on foot. Now, the wonderful thing about being in the bushes You never know what's going to be around the next corner. So there could be a leopard, there could be an elephant, there could be buffalo, there could be a lion. And one thing that happens is the animals are quite often on the move. So it's very dry at the moment. And we're in a drought. Ooh, there's a very pretty bird. Boom. He's landed. Now, it's called a lilac-breasted roller. He also eats insects, but he can eat bigger insects and lizards. He's got a very powerful little beak. And he's not showing us his pretty side at the moment. Come on, turn around. Yeah, let's try to get a little bit closer. Oh, there we go, showing us his pretty electric blue and lilac and green feathers. And again, you can see one of the reasons he's an insect eater is he perches out in the open, and then he watches carefully for any movement of insects on the ground or in the air around him, and then he'll take off and catch them. Very, very beautiful bird. See how very focused he is, checking around, looking for any hohos. Now, well, let's leave him hunting for bugs, and we're going to keep hunting for elephants. Well, unless he stays very still. Nah, he's going to fly. Hi, Geordie. Geordie's wondering, is it true that elephants don't like the color red? It is not true. I've never noticed them having any particular preference in colors, but I've never noticed that they don't like the color red. Hi, Yanni. Yanni is wondering, how big are elephant babies when they're born? Now, let's think. A very big human baby weighs about 3 kilograms, and a very big human mom probably weighs around 70 kilograms. So a big elephant female can weigh 3,000 kilograms, so their baby is going to be very big. So an elephant baby at birth weighs, depending on the baby, about 100 to 130 kilograms. So even heavier than me. And that's when they're born. Okay. Now, I'm looking for any tracks of elephants, and I haven't seen any this morning. So we had a bit of rain 2 nights ago. And what rain does with a lot of animals, and in the dry season, is it spreads them out. So animals like zebra, wildebeest, and elephant in particular, where they've been concentrated around the water holes, have now spread out because there's little puddles of water that they can drink from all around the bush. So sometimes we've got to move a bit further to find the elephants and other animals. Just having a look. I thought I saw something through here. No. White rhino. Now the main difference is in what's happening here? My book doesn't look to be. How did that happen? Sorry about that. Well, I'll tell you. So a white rhino has got there we go, I can show you a picture now. A big square lip, and that's because it eats grass. So it's got a big, wide, flat mouth. And here we go. And a black rhino has a pointy lip, like a hook, and that's because they eat leaves. So he uses that hooked lip to grab the leaves, and there we go. Let's show you a picture, much easier. So So we'll start with the white rhino. Dave, you're going to let me know about light. It's a bit difficult sometimes. There we go. There we go, that's not too bad. A wipe. Oh, there's lots of dust out here in the bush, so let's give it a bit clean. Okay, so now if we look, you can see a big flat mouth, and they use their lips to pluck grass species out. That's the white rhino. And then if we go back and we look at the black rhino, and you can see, oh, there, they've got that much more different shaped lip. Oh, sorry, there we go. And they're able to grab leaves. Also, you look, a black rhino's head sits quite high up because he's got to eat leaves, where a white rhino's head sits very low to the ground so it can eat grass. Also, the white rhino are much bigger than the black rhino, and they prefer different habitats. Okay, now the next part of that question is, are they both endangered? Yes, they are both endangered. There's less than it's less than about 2,000 between 2,000 and 5,000 black rhino left in the wild, and there's about 18,000 or 19,000 white rhino left in the wild, so not very many at all. We're lucky enough that the rhino population in our area is very, very healthy, and we've got incredible guys who do anti-poaching and protection of those incredible animals. There he is. Good camera work, Dave. There's a battalier eagle, a juvenile battalier. So it's part of the snake eagle family. So they've got very thick scales on their legs, and that helps them when they're trying to catch snakes so they don't get bitten and poisoned. That one is flying away from us quite fast. So, well, good job, Dave, sticking with him. Oh, and there's a roller attacking him. Doesn't like eagles around him. So that pretty bird we just saw is attacking the bigger eagle, unfortunately behind the bush. But that happens quite often with birds. The small birds, being faster, can attack the bigger birds. But back to the question about lions' manes. Why do lions have manes? Now, it is a lot to do with fighting. So when a male lion fights, the most vulnerable part of a male lion is around the throat area and the back of the neck. So that thick mane helps to protect him when he's fighting with other lions. Well, Yanni's asked a very difficult question. How many bones does a lion have? Now, Yanni, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to give you an exact answer, but I can do some educated guesswork. Let's say on average they've probably got about 10, let me just work it out. So 3 times 5, 15, 15 times 4, 60, and that's just in their feet. 60, and then, well, probably I'm guessing, and I am guessing here, probably around maybe between 150 and 200 individual bones in their body. Now, you must remember some of their bones are very, very small, like the bones in our fingers, and some of the bones in their joints will also be very, very small. Hi, Keegan. Keegan would like to know whether elephants use mud for sunscreen, or is it true? They use it for lots of different reasons. Sunscreen probably is not one of them. So what they do use mud for is to cool down. They'll spray mud onto themselves to cool down. Another reason they spray mud upon themselves is that little creatures, like ticks, get stuck on them, and if they roll in them or spray mud on them, those bad little things that hurt them, like ticks that suck their blood. Oh no, don't fly away. Oh, there's a little woodpecker, and we might find it again. You got him there, Dave? Okay. And when the mud dries, those ticks get stuck inside the mud and they fall off. There we go. That's a little cardinal woodpecker pecking at the wood. Whoop. He's the smallest of our woodpecker species. Let me just go forward maybe, I think. Oh no, it's flown off. Oh, he's come closer to us. That's nice of him. Got him there on the edge of the terminalia tree. Second tree. Okay, left. Zoom. Oh, there he is. There we go. That's a nice view of the little woodpecker. Oh, he doesn't want to be filmed today. He's off again. So those woodpecker. Oh no, you found him. Sorry. There we go. Oh, where'd he go now? Oh, he's top of the tree, I think. So those woodpeckers are incredible. So they've got a shock absorber in their skull that enables them to. There we go. Center just behind that. Let me go forward a little bit. There he is. There he is. So they've got an incredible shock absorber in their at the edge of their beak. Oh, where's he gone? There he is, popping up, and that enables them to. Oh, up again. That. So that enables them to bore. He's being very difficult today. It enables them to bore into the wood and remove larvae of beetles and other creatures. Oh, looks like he's got something. Now that was actually really, really fascinating. Let me just see if I can find one of those for you. Now, those are very particular things he's feeding on that only really occur in a few type of tree species. And one of them is the silver cluster leaf or terminalia, which is here. Okay, let me find this for you. This is really, really cool. So I'm going to show you what I'm looking at. So that little woodpecker is only looking for a certain thing. So it's flying from terminalia to terminalia, which is the name for these trees. And hopefully I don't fall off the car while I try to get this. Okay, so now there's two types of creatures that use a terminalia, and they're bugs. One is an ant and one is a wasp. And what they do is the ant will bite the tree, and I'm going to put it over there so Dave can show you nicely. The ant will bite the tree and the wasp will sting the tree, and that causes the tree to release a growth hormone. So it makes the tree think it needs to send as much food as possible to that little spot that's been stung or bitten by the wasp or ant. And what that does is create this big bulb on the thing, and that also makes, let's see, I'm going to open it up. Okay. If we have a look, now this is an old one, can't really see, oopsie, can you see in there? So inside there is a little hollow, and the ants and the wasps, this is an ant nest, not a wasp nest, and they lay their eggs inside there, and that gives them a protective casing to protect themselves from other things, except for the woodpecker. And that's what that woodpecker was doing. It was going from every single different terminalia tree that's got these ant and wasp nests in them, and opening them up and eating the babies from inside. Interesting, huh? It's amazing how nature has developed this to protect the baby ants and the baby wasps, but nature's also made sure that they don't get too many baby ants or baby wasps. And hey, hi Sean. That's Sean. He's a ranger from the reserve next to us, and a friend of mine. He's a very happy guy, as you can hear. So as I was saying, so nature's made sure that these ants or wasps don't get too many and hurt the tree by having birds like the cardinal woodpecker that can open them up. So really, really interesting. We're going to keep moving, keep looking for elephants. Let's see, I've got so many wires on me. Hopefully I can, there we go. So I know about your school. So my cousins went to St. Benedict's, so I know about your school. So it's really awesome to have you guys on drive with us. Now apparently Jamie says I'm going to try show you a picture of a pangolin. I'm going to try find some shade to make it a little bit easier with the screen. There we go. And let's go. There's a bit of shade there. Okay, so we got. I'll try to get some shade on my dashboard. There's a spot that might work. How's that there? There you go. That's a pangolin, or a scaly anteater. So there we go. Now it's it is an endangered species. Now they also eat bugs, they eat ants, and pangolins in this area, can you believe, they don't very much like variety. They're like one species of ant. So 98% of what they eat is made up of one species of ant called a pugnacious ant. Now, pugnacious means it's a nasty ant. If you have to walk near them, they attack your feet and bite you. So that is a pangolin. Okay. Let's keep moving while we keep searching for other creatures, both big and small, out here in the African bush. Let's see how Jamie's doing.
We are also searching for creatures big and small, but I hear that Brent has been showing you some leaves, and I'm going to show you leaves of a different kind. Now, this tree is called a weeping wattle, and it's a very, very useful tree for a very important purpose. Hold on one moment. I'm going to jump out and I'm going to explain to you why that is. So, if I jump out of the car and we go and grab some of these leaves, I'm going to bring them a little bit closer. I'm not going to take all of them, obviously, because some poor animal might want to come along and eat this tree, but I'll take a few so that I can show you what you do with them. Now, have a look at these leaves. Now, you can't feel them, obviously, but I can, and you can see, if I run my hand along it, very, very soft. There's no thorns on them. They're very soft leaves. They've got a fur that is very nice to feel. It's nice on the skin. Now, if you put them together like this, and then imagine you've got a whole lot of them sort of put together in this kind of way, can you think maybe what you might need to use them for? So we can use them as human beings. Animals like to eat them, but not too much. They only really eat them when there's not much else to eat around here. But there is a very important use for people in the bush. Now, let's say you go out on a game drive and you forget to bring something very important. You forget to bring a toilet paper. Then that tree is also called the toilet paper tree, because you can use it for that exact purpose. Biodegradable, it's all natural, and you have to, if you find yourself in desperate times, then that is what you can use for toilet paper. But be careful if you do that, because there are trees called acacia trees that have leaves that look the same, and sicklebush, actually, hold on, I'm going to show you. I don't even need to just explain it to you, I can show you, because I can see some in front of us. So you've got to be careful what you pick to use as toilet paper, because if we go here, look at this tree. Its leaves are exactly the same, but, and this is a very important but, this tree is called a sicklebush, and it's called a sicklebush because it has thorns. And you definitely don't want to use this particular tree as your toilet paper at all. Just a little important reminder out here in the bush. If you wanted to use this tree for something useful, it has painkiller properties. So if you've got a headache, you can take the bark and soak it in water, and you can drink that, and it will help to remove your headache. Oh, just some interesting facts on trees, because as Brent was telling you, it's not always about the big, hairy and scary animals. But we're going to look for some of those as well. Let's go see if we can't find an elephant somewhere here. And a very interesting question coming through from Ike, who would like to know how many types of different woodpeckers we get out here. And the answer is, Ike, we usually see 4 different types. One is called a bearded woodpecker, and they all look very, very similar, which means you've got to study your birds carefully to know the difference between the woodpeckers. One is called a bearded woodpecker because it's got a beard, a black patch of feathers that runs down its face. The other is called a cardinal because it kind of looks like it's wearing a cardinal's hat on the top of its head. The other is called a Bennett's woodpecker. I don't know why it's called a Bennett's woodpecker. Maybe somebody called Bennett discovered it. And then you also get a woodpecker called a golden-tailed, because its tail is more golden looking than all of the other woodpeckers. So those are the 4 main woodpecker species that we get out here. There's lots of different kinds throughout South Africa, but those 4 are the ones that really like this habitat. Come on everybody, let's look for our animals. Where are they hiding on today? Maybe they're all still feeling a bit cold, looking for some sun to warm themselves up in. Look for our elephants. Basani, you want to know, is there a way to tell male and female elephants apart? That's a very good question, because it can be actually really difficult when you're looking at young elephants. So one of the biggest differences is the shape of the skin underneath their legs. So between their back legs, a male has got a V between their back legs, whereas a female sort of have flat skin underneath their legs. But if you don't see, because often elephants are in thick vegetation, they're hiding away and you can only see their heads, one of the best ways is to look at the shape of the forehead. So the males, imagine I'm an elephant. I know it's difficult. Look, I've got tusks. Haha, I'm an elephant. Doesn't really work, does it? But pretend I'm an elephant and you're looking at me from the side. So a male elephant, his forehead goes boom. It's round. It's a round forehead. But a female elephant, her forehead goes straight out, top of her head, and then down towards her nose. Makes an angle, like a sharp angle. Whereas the males, it's nice and round around the top of their heads. Also with their tusks, if the elephant has tusks, because they don't always, males tend to be thicker than the females. So they can be the same length, but the females are slightly narrower tusks, usually only really about that thick. Whereas a male's can be absolutely enormous, can be this thick, can be this thick, can even be this thick. There are some elephants that had tusks that weigh more than I do. Now, there's elephants recorded having tusks, one tusk weighing 70 kilograms, 80 kilograms in the Kruger National Park. Huge animals. And only the male's tusks get that big. But you've got to be careful, because just like human beings, some of us are tall, some of us are short, some of us have brown hair, some of us have black hair. The elephants are kind of the same. Some elephants have long tusks, some have short tusks. It depends on their genetics. Wow. Aiden, you've asked me a question, which is, what is the scientific name of a giraffe? And I'm very impressed with your wanting to know that particular Latin name, and it's a really good thing, because the Latin name tells you a little bit about the animal. So a giraffe's Latin name is a Camelopardus giraffe. I don't quite know how you pronounce it, to be honest, but Camelopardus, camel, leopard. You can imagine the people, when they first saw a giraffe, which must have been very, very strange, the people who first named a giraffe, because of course there would have been people that had seen the giraffe their whole lives, but the people who first named the giraffe, they kind of thought it was like a camel, and then pardus means leopard. That's the name for a leopard, like a panther. So a camel leopard giraffe. That's what the Latin name is for a giraffe. Isn't that weird? Camelopardus. But it makes sense, because giraffe walk like camels, with both feet on one side, then both feet on the other side. There's not really any other animals out here that do that. So you can see, and it's got spots. So like a leopard, it's got spots. And that's why the giraffe has the name Camelopardus. Very impressive question though. It's good to be interested in the Latin names because they tell you something about the animal itself. Like if you talk about the Latin name of a lion, it's Panthera leo. The leopard's name is a Panthera pardus. So that tells you immediately leopards and lions come from the same genus. They're closely related to each other. That's why Latin names are important out here. Right, let us find you something very cool to look at. And a really lovely question coming through from Yanni, because pangolin look so, they kind of look like dinosaurs, don't they? Or like a weird reptile. And Yanni wants to know, do they give birth or do they lay eggs? They do in fact give birth. And the amazing thing is, after the mommy pangolin has given birth, the baby climbs up onto her back and hangs on. It has a piggyback for the first few months of its life. That's how she carries it around, because its tiny little legs can't keep up with mom. So she carries it on her back. I can see what you're thinking, but it's only in terms of, because a pangolin is a mammal, it's not a reptile or anything like this. The only mammals in the world that lay eggs are in the sort of Australia region, the Australasia region of the world. So we don't have any mammal species here in South Africa that lay eggs. Only the birds and the reptiles here that will lay an egg in order to produce a baby. Here we're coming to my favorite tree, and one day I'm going to come through here and there's going to be a leopard sitting in the top of the tree. But not today, I don't think. I don't see any leopards. Do you see any leopards, Jandre? Do any of you see any leopards? I don't, unfortunately. But this is the perfect place for a leopard to climb up into the tree, be nice and safe, and hide away there. And we have a lovely question from Ike, which is, do wasps sting lions? And the answer is yes, sometimes they do. If the lion isn't being very careful, if it sticks its nose where it doesn't belong, then a wasp might sting a lion. And of course they can just fly away, so they don't even need to be scared of the lion if the lion gets cross that it's been stung on the nose. Where are all of the animals hiding this morning? While we go and look for some elephants, Matthew wants to know, how do elephants clean their babies? And the answer is, Matthew, they don't really bother too much about keeping their babies squeaky clean. However, what they do is they take their babies to water, and sometimes the baby elephants go climbing into the water, and then they watch what their mothers do. So maybe their mothers teach them how to do this. We don't know, because we don't speak elephant. We speak a little bit of elephant, but we don't speak their whole language fluently. So maybe mom teaches them to take mud in their trunk and to splash it on them. Now that sounds like getting dirty, doesn't it? It doesn't sound like washing. But in fact, for an elephant baby, that's exactly what it does. First of all, it works as a sunblock, so it keeps their sensitive baby skin safe from the hot African sun, as we should all do. We should all take a lesson from elephants and wear sunblock each and every day whenever we are out here, because the sun is very, very strong, even on the cold winter's mornings. And so the elephant does that. It also keeps things like insects, ticks, and other animals, parasites, mites, all their tiny little microscopic creepy crawlies, from being able to get into the elephant's skin and making it itchy and uncomfortable. So that's another reason why baby elephants, the mothers don't worry too much about them being covered in mud, because it's kind of their way of keeping clean and protected. This morning, the animals are playing hide and seek with us, and that's because it's not like a zoo out here. Now, we've got to go and find the animals, and sometimes they are very, very difficult to find. Now, it was really very, very cold when we started off our morning safari as the sun started to come up, and that's why all of the animals are hiding away. They're hiding behind bushes. They're trying to keep themselves warm. And we are trying to find them for you, but they are playing hide and seek, and we need all of you to help us try and search for them. So some days there's lots of animals, other days they're hiding away. And also, because there's been a little bit of rain, we had rain yesterday and the night before. That's really good because there's a massive drought here at the moment. There's not enough water for the animals to drink. But because there was rain, it also means that the animals don't have to walk all the way to the water holes to drink, because there's lots of puddles in the middle of the bushes, so they don't have to stress themselves out and go further than they need to. They are walking around finding water in here. There's an animal, but you can see how it's playing hide and seek with us. If I stop, hopefully he will... Oh, we're talking about different animals. Awesome! These are my favorite animals. Look at that. Now that it's getting a bit warmer, the dwarf mongoose are coming out. Hold on a second, we're going to go forward a bit because these animals are really comfortable with us in the vehicle. So they might dash into their holes for a moment, but they will come back out. Yay! I'm so glad we could show these animals to you. These are my favorite, and they're so curious. They're all going into their holes now because we're coming past, but we're going to switch off and we're going to watch them pop their heads back out of the termite mound. This is the smallest carnivore that we get out here. So Zachary, we might not get panthers, unfortunately. Now, panther is just a name for a black leopard, Zachary, before we talk about these dwarf mongoose. A panther is a name for a black leopard or a melanistic leopard, so we might get one out here. I've never seen one in this area, unfortunately, but they do exist in South Africa, and all it is a leopard that has a genetic mutation that makes them black rather than their normal gold and spotted color. Right, let's talk about these little guys. Said that they're the smallest mammal predator in the Sabi Sands. They're very, very tiny. They're kind of like the size of a large rat, but they're not rats. It's an animal called a mongoose, and they have very, very complex little families that they live in. See how they're looking at me whenever I make that noise? I'm speaking mongoose to them, making little contact calls and squeaks. Now they've just got warm enough to start going out and digging under the leaves for insects. These are fierce scorpion hunters. They've even been known to kill big snakes before, working together as a team. I love them because they're really clever, they're really curious, and they're also very, very cute. They live in a family that has kind of like a mom and a dad. So it's an alpha female and alpha male. And only the alpha female and male will make the babies of the group. The rest of the group helps to babysit them, to feed them, to look after them. They're amazing. And what they do is they live in these old termite mounds that are full of holes that they can dash into, like the one that's behind this mongoose that you're looking at now. So they've got a jungle gym and a home, all rolled into one. And the more you sit with the dwarf mongoose, the more you see. I'm just trying to do a little bit of a count here, a head count. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 little dwarf mongoose all running around. Can't see them all, but we can see those of them that are scurrying about the entrance to their home. Now, this is where they've spent the night, tucked away safely. Look carefully, because you've got to keep a sharp eye to spot a dwarf mongoose. This is where they went to sleep last night, cuddled up inside their tunnels, inside a termite mound, nice and warm, keep themselves cozy. And only when it gets light, and in winter, dwarf mongoose are kind of lazy. They like to sleep in every morning because it's too cold for them to go out, and they only come out when the sun comes up, and they can go and lie in the sun and get warm again. Oh! Hear that little alarm call? There's a squeak, and then everybody ran to see if they could go somewhere safely. Okay guys, just keep an eye on the dwarf mongoose for a moment. And let us see if we sit here nice and quietly, they will get curious. Because Declan, absolutely, I have sat before, quite quiet, just sitting patiently, and I have had dwarf mongoose come right up to my vehicle, even sniff my tires and try and chew on them. So these little animals do get brave, and they do come running up to the vehicle if you sit here for long enough. That's why I love them, because they're curious. They want to explore their world and find out what's happening around them. They're also really peaceful animals. So when the time comes to look for a new head of the family, so the new dominant male or dominant female, instead of fighting like the lions and the impala that we were talking about earlier, these little guys have a competition. And can you guess what they compete in? I bet you can't, because I never would have believed it if I didn't know that it was true. They have a competition to see which ones can clean each other for the longest. So they groom each other, cleaning with their teeth and their tongue, licking the fur, until one of them just can't keep the other clean anymore and lies down exhausted. And then the one that kept cleaning is the winner, and becomes the new head of the family, the new alpha of the family. How fascinating is that? Really, really fantastic that they have that method of solving their problems rather than fighting about it. Unfortunately, the boys at St. Benedict's have to leave us. I'm sorry that we have to see you go, because there's so many amazing things to see out here. Unfortunately, I'm going to sneeze. Okay, it's gone. Sorry, that sneeze was about to... Okay, it's gone. I swallowed it. Unfortunately, the boys at St. Benedict's have to go, so we're going to say a big goodbye and a big thank you for joining us on behalf of Brent, myself, Jeandre and Dave. We hope you enjoy the rest of your school day, and we hope to see you on the back of our vehicle once again. Bye-bye, everybody. And for the rest of our viewers sticking with us, thank you very much. Just an update, they found the Nkuhumas on Arathusa. There is a queue that is longer than 2 of my arms to get to them, so we will have to wait. We'll probably only see them this afternoon on the sunset safari. While we continue on looking for wonderful things to find you, I am going to send you back across to Brent to find out what he's been occupying his morning with.
Thanks everyone for all your patience with the school drives. It is incredibly important to breed the next generation of conservationists. So we do appreciate your patience while we deal with the future of wildlife in the world. And I've just decided to come for a little bumble down Hyena Road, a road we don't drive too often, just to see if there's anything about. Sometimes male leopards seem to pop out in this area. So I heard, unfortunately, the Nkuhumas did cross into Arathusa, so sunset safari, you definitely go have a look for them there. And I think this sunset I might head down to Cheetah Plains. I keep planning to get there, but never quite make it, because we keep finding such spectacular stuff here on Djuma. And it is a beautiful winter's day, warming up quite quickly, and we're quite happy about that. It was bitterly cold this morning, 6 or 7 degrees Celsius, and yes, no, I'm not a big fan of being cold. And the only time I don't mind being cold is when I'm in search of Africa's wildlife. But unfortunately, very, very quiet on the general game front this morning, and that's due to the rain. The elephants and things like zebra and wildebeest will quite often spread out once there has been a bit of rain, and they'll take advantage of all the puddles and little pans that have a bit of water in it, and they might be a bit closer to good grazing at the moment. Oh, a big welcome to Kevin, who's a new viewer. Welcome. And Kevin's wondering, how much rain have we received due to these storms? Not enough is the answer, Kevin. In total, just under 15 millimeters, which is very good for this time of the year, but we have been experiencing a massive drought. Ooh, let's hope I don't get stuck in a deep puddle. David, we're going to get stuck. Ooh, it's quite muddy. Should be okay. Whoa! Splash, splash. But so, Kevin, we've been going through a very big drought. It's the biggest drought in South Africa since 1992, and every little bit of rain helps. So this little middle winter, which is everyone says it doesn't rain during winter. It does, but normally about once, and normally about the sort of 15 to 20 mil mark. It happens almost every year, even though people seem to get surprised every year when it rains in the middle of winter. But normally our rainy season is from November through to April. And our average rainfall over the rainy season is normally about 400 mils, 450 sometimes. And this year we had 120, so far less than normal. Even the birds are evading me this morning. Jamie's had all the luck, lions, wild dogs. I think we've had, what have we had? Kudu, chin spot batis, batelier, cardinal woodpecker. Is that all we've seen today, Dave? Oh, it's been a bit quiet, but it's nevertheless been beautiful and fun being out here. I'm very lucky that I absolutely love what I do, and whether I'm looking at big cats or little bugs, I still get excited. I was really hoping for some elephants, but I have literally covered the majority of Djuma this morning and not even a sign. So they might have spread out, headed north and south. One thing I have been keeping a close eye out for, due to this little bit of rain, we might get one or two little wildflowers in the next day that might spring up, and I really do enjoy my wildflowers. Pierre's wondering whether to do anything for the flora in the park or just for the fauna. With the drought, there are a few pumped water holes for the fauna, but that's about it. We try to do very little for flora or fauna. If there are any exotic flora species, they are removed, but a drought is part of the natural cycle out here in the African bush. It helps keep animal populations under control. It also helps to change the flora. So in a drought like this, the elephants are really focused on feeding on the trees, and that'll give the grass species a good chance to recover and come up after the next set of good rains. And it all depends on the year. So it is a system that is in balance. If we had to start fiddling with it, we might start causing problems. I think the best sort of description I've had is that human beings are gardeners in Eden. We go take an absolutely perfect system that's working immaculately well, and we decide we can make it better. And quite often when we do that, all we do is make it worse. And So it's best to leave nature to sort nature's problems out. And an area like this, of course, in certain areas, if it's fenced completely and not an open system like we're in, you do need to do some management of flora and fauna. Oh, an animal, Dave! Thank goodness, yes. It's not normally we rush off like this after an Inyala, but we have not seen much today. And looks like a nice male Inyala. And it looks like he's practicing a bit of philo erection, which means there could be another male Inyala that he's having a standoff with. Let's go see. Oh, there's some girls there to impress. Yes, there we go. Oh, this is awesome. Look at that. Now, this is an Inyala bull fight. Now, when you see their manes raised like that, and those stiff legs, it means they are competing for those females that are next to them. There could be a female who's coming into estrus. Inyalas breed throughout the year. Now, this is a very, very interesting adaptation by Inyala. Now, what it is to stop having to physically actually attack each other. They try and have a who's prettier competition, and the most impressive generally wins. They will actually lock horns from time to time, but this little display of the stiff legs and raised mane is to try avoid physical contact. Now, at the moment, it's difficult to say who's the winner. Now, it seems like he's putting his mane down a bit, but you see he's sniffing at the females. So one of them is probably about to come into estrus, and the winner, or the Inyala that is winning when we first arrived, is that one we've got in shot at the moment. And the reason I say this is the Inyala that's winning puts his tail up. So you can see his tail raised. I'm just trying to see if we can get another view of them. So here we go. So that the bigger male is escorting the smaller male away from the females. There's the smaller male now on the right. Unfortunately, they're on a little bit of thick bush. But just judging from how serious the standoff was, I would say that female, if she's probably not in estrus yet, and might only be coming into estrus in a little while. So there's enough pheromones or hormones in the air to excite the males, but not enough to put them into a full-blown standoff or even possibly a fight. So look at this, there we go. See the male on the left just making sure the youngster keeps his distance a little bit. But this isn't too serious a standoff. But the one on the left is definitely winning. Oh, they are incredibly exquisite antelope. I really like their orange socks on the males. So they're one of the only antelope that shows great sexual dimorphism between male and female. The females are that lovely orange color, and the males the dark chocolate brown. And you probably find that has evolved due to the fact of their standoff way of fighting. So they need to look more impressive, so they've evolved a darker coloration than the females. But they've kept their orange socks. It's been great having you guys on the safari with us. We are coming to the end of the sunrise safari, and again we thank you for your patience with the school drives. It is really important to get the next bunch of conservationists prepped and ready to take over the torch from the rest of us. Now, and great to have a bunch of new viewers with us this morning. Hopefully you'll be joining us in a few short hours for the sunset safari, and hopefully we're going to have hopefully we can go find those Nkuhuma lions in Arathusa. I think I might head towards Cheetah Plains just because I haven't been there in a while, and just see what's happening. There we go. Bye-bye, Nyalas, as they're going to head along feeding. We're going to leave you with visuals of the Nyalas. As I said, don't forget to join us for the sunset safari in a few short hours.